All right, so now we've gone through this front page and we've read it, we've highlighted and taken some notes. We're going to turn this to the inside. And it says, fellow seismologists, we have just received data from the field. It is your job to analyze the data and determine the depth of the layers of the earth. Also, there have been claims made by other seismologists. We need you to provide evidence that supports these claims. Good luck. Okay, so there's 3 things that we need to do. For this part, we're going to just be doing one. It says, based on the given data, create a double line graph showing the relationships between P wave speed and S wave speed and depth within the earth. All right, so when I look, I see I have 2 data tables. This data table is all for P waves, and it gives you how deep the P wave is traveling and how fast in kilometers per second the P wave is going at that depth. And then we have seismic wave data about S waves and how deep they were when this speed was recorded. And so this graph is going to need to be perfect. So you need to take your time on this. So we are going to graph all the P wave data first. Now, if you look at your graph, just to notice, on the y-axis we have depth, kilometers. Each line goes by 200, 1,000. Of course, this is 1,200, 1,400. I didn't put the 1 there. Here's 2,000, 2,200, 2,400. And this is the x-axis. And then on the y-axis, we have how fast the seismic wave is traveling in kilometers per second. So my first data point, I can see that at 0 kilometers, this seismic wave is traveling at 6 kilometers per second. So I'm going to, let's see, 6 kilometers is right there. At 0 depth, this is how fast my seismic wave is traveling. I make a point there. I go back to my data. I'm going to cross this off so that I know that I've done that. I see my second data point is at 50 kilometers. My seismic wave is traveling 9 kilometers per second. I like to use my ruler. So the speed is 9 kilometers. So if I do that, I know right where 9 is, and I don't have to try to be like matching coordinates. So I just need to find 50. So here's 0, here's 200. 100 would be right in the middle. So 50 would be right in between there. So when I do this, that's going to be pretty close. Now you need a straight edge at this point. And it can be anything. It can be a piece of paper or whatever, but your lines have to be straight. And I'm going to connect my 2 points. I'm going to go back to my data table and I'm going to cross this out and I'm going to do my next point. So speed 8 kilometers per second at 200 kilometers depth. So let's see, 8, I'm going to do this so that I don't have to try to find 8. Here's 200. I'm going to make a little point. I'm going to connect my last 2 data points. I'm going to go back. I'm going to cross this out. And I'm going to keep doing this all the way across. Now, what I did here was you can see that I've done all the data for my P wave. I'm crossing this out because I actually have some other information down here. And then what I did was I went back over my line that I did. And I made it a certain color. Like I made mine red, and then I colored over here. I colored this in red so that you would know that this particular line represents all my P wave data. So once I did all of that, I colored it in, I went over my line, and I labeled it. Now I'm going to do the same thing with my S wave data. So at a depth of 0, it's going about a speed of 3.5. So you'll see right here, that's at 3.5, 0. I made a point. Went back here. After I did that, I crossed it off. I did my next, and I went all the way across with pencil. And once I did that in pencil, I went back over the line with yellow, and then I highlighted that the yellow line represented S-wave data. And so this is what it'll look like if you end up doing this correctly. And it's really important that you plot this data correctly for class tomorrow. So take your time and do it right. If you're someone who kind of estimates and says like, 100 is close to 200. I'm just going to put it on the line. That will not work here. You cannot do that. You have to be as exact as you possibly can while doing this. And that's where having a straight edge, I think, like if I'm trying to plot something that's at 3.5, sometimes putting that in the middle of those two might help you plot that point better. So that's your next task. Step 1. Based on this data given, create a double line graph showing the relationship between P wave speed and S wave speed and how deep that seismic wave is when it's traveling at that speed.